This is the benediction found in Numbers 6:24 to 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. I place this benediction upon you and upon me on this particular day of transition, when your supply priest leaves, and following tomorrow your new rector arrives. Now, I'd like you to frame this against the beauty of the words gracious, as found in the benediction, and peace, shalom, as found in this particular benediction. And I'd like you to hear it first from the scriptural references. Now, we had Psalm 130. And in Psalm 130 it says, I wait for the Lord, my soul waits for him. In his word is my hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than watchmen for the morning, more than watchmen for the morning. If you're somebody that is in want of something and would desperately like to know what you need and tell somebody what it is, you could connect to Jairus. Jairus, the leader of the synagogue, whose daughter is near death. And as a parent, he is frantic and knows that Jesus could come and heal. He gets Jesus' attention. And Jesus doesn't do a snap the finger, something happened, but goes to be part of it. And on his way, as the story unfolds, delay occurs. Can you just imagine Jairus' frantic nature? How unkind he might be to the woman, or whatever is slowing down Jesus getting to his daughter. His want is not being met by his need. And then there's this woman who has a want and a need as well. She has been sore sick for 12 years. Let's not get into physical details here, but it's described pretty rough. And she basically has this idea, if he could just touch Jesus, that's all. He's too busy, just touch him. And the power happens, it's out of that faith, the belief that she is healed. And then she gets to be identified, and then Jesus makes this statement to her, and then turns to Jairus and gives him that same criteria that is given to us who have been waiting for the watchman for the morning, for the watchman for the morning, for the year and a half or so since Cindy retired. Had been waiting and waiting and waiting through the ups and downs of what might have happened last fall, when we all thought it just might occur. And then Christmas came and we were kind of back in the same box. And, well, we know it's really nice to be on the other side of, yay, God, and things have worked out. And we'll come back to that in a moment. Want and need. Now, when we're thinking about this particular parish, let's zoom up a little bit higher to like 30,000 feet and think about what's been going on in the Episcopal Church. Remember, this is St. Anne's Episcopal Church. So we're part of the Episcopal Church, all right? And that's a hierarchical church, okay? We hang around with other folks, and the Episcopal Church has had its triennial annual convention, triennial general convention. Now, who is the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church? Michael Curry. Right. But his 9-year term ends October 30th. So it was incumbent upon the House of Bishops, with the House of Deputies concurring, to find and elect the next presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church. With all the challenges that we face, we've had some dioceses that have basically reconnected themselves because they don't need a larger structure to guide them. The two Michigans, West and East, are now the Great Lakes. Wisconsin, the 3 dioceses, are now all back to being the Diocese of Wisconsin. So there's lots of small and big challenges going ahead. And we have received an election. Now, you'll note a number of things different today. One, we took away the prayer that would extol the virtues that we'd like to seek in the next rector, because guess what? They're going to start becoming apparent tomorrow, and then all of next week, and then moving forward. We are at a point with this in the General Convention. Our prayers of the people will be different. When you listen carefully, my name is not mentioned. And I have appreciated being part of those prayers, but as of the end of today, you have Matt. Okay? So the prayers of the people are going to remind us that we have our presiding bishop, and then Michael, our presiding bishop, and then Sean, our presiding bishop-elect. Sean Rowe, the Bishop of Northwestern Pennsylvania, also the Provisional Bishop of Western New York. You can see there's some interesting things going on there. And one of his most interesting characteristics is when he was ordained a priest at age 24, he was one of the youngest priests that you could be ordained at that age. And then just a few years later, I think by the time he was age 32, he was elected and consecrated bishop. He's been a bishop for 17 years, and he is 49 years old. This is a great gift that the larger church saw in him, with all of his gifts and his abilities to build upon all the work of Catherine Jefferts Schori, all the work on Michael Curry. If it ain't love, it ain't nothing. And that's what Jesus is. Right. But we need somebody who also understands the power of presenting Jesus Christ and organizing to do it. And just to give you an idea, he reminds me a little bit of how Pope Francis, when he was elected in the year 2013, the Pope for the Roman Catholic Church, upon his election, he was found to be carrying his own bags down from his hotel room. Francis was making some statements about how we are to interact and be in relationship with one another. Sean Rowe has given us, Bishop Sean Rowe, Presiding Bishop-Elect Sean Rowe, has given us an opportunity to reflect on what types of changes the Spirit may have in store for us if we but listen carefully for them in that gracious and shalom-filled manner as found in the benediction words of Numbers that I read to you earlier. Sean has said clearly that we're not going to have a huge, expensive party on November 1st at the Washington National Cathedral to institute him as presiding bishop, where everybody has to travel. I mean, it would be a great show, but it would be expensive. He said, you know, we have this really great chapel, and I've actually presided in this chapel at the National Church Center in New York City. And since we do it so well here with video, they're going to live stream his institution on November 1st or so from the chapel in the National Church Center in New York City. It's the beginning of making some concrete statements about how we can be who we are and still be different and yet be better. So when you think about the challenges that are coming before this particular church, frankly, starting tomorrow, take a look back at how you've risen to meet those challenges over the year and a half since Cindy has left. And that's why I brought you those My Soul Waits for the Lord, more than watchmen in the morning, more than watchmen in the morning. Because you have waited patiently, but at the same time, you've also listened and engaged carefully to the point that now you have been blessed with your next rector. Your next rector is deacon. It says in your bulletin quite nicely. Thank you for the thank you page, but I like the looking forward page about Deacon Matt. You've got 6 months where everything on Sunday is going to seem befutz. I've been grateful that I've been able to give you a sense of stability. I show up every week. I talk. We pray. We have the consecrated bread and wine, and then from that spiritual energy, stuff happens. If I don't say 111 meals one more time, it won't be enough. I can't believe that a parish in transition and worry still realizes its need to take care of the outside world beyond themselves. That's a mark of health. So, are things going to be different starting tomorrow?
No.
Oh yeah, and no.
Still the church.
It's still the church. Some of the practices may be different. The core thing will be to listen carefully to one another for a couple of good reasons. Now, you've got an opportunity to think about something moving forward that I think is still bound up in the Iota, the benediction that I read to you, that I'm going to close with. That is about gracious norms and shalom and all it is to be community. I'm wearing a stole I have not worn before you. This particular stole is cross-stitch. If I was to come too close to the camera, which I think I'll do, I'll come close to the camera. If you look at it carefully, you'll see that it's hand done. Now let's see if I can step back without falling over. And it's done. And this was presented to me at my ordination to the priesthood almost 35 years ago. I spent my first 6 months in the parish as the associate, and I was a deacon. Now, there are a number of different things that happen when you have a deacon, and the deacon's authority sacramentally is non-existent. They do not bless, consecrate, or absolve.
No.
But in terms of leadership as rector, oh my goodness gracious, there's a great amount of love that comes just from being willing to be in that position. Now, this particular gift says to me on the outside, the reminder, I am the way, the truth, and the life, to keep me connected to an understanding of the power of God. But the more important thing these sneaky people did, they gave me this incredible gift, and I'd like you to think about this gift in light of what gifts you'll receive from Matt, and what gifts, and specifically on the day of his ordination to the priesthood, what gift might you consider giving to him that says something about your understanding of being gracious, of which I know you are, and your understanding of what it means to be shalom. And as I've said to you, that's a version of the word koinonia, where you're wishing for one another the richness and fullness that all God has to offer to one another. And the way they expressed that to me was in a sneaky fashion. They went around, and everybody in that church came up with little pieces of fabric to create this quilt. Again, I will walk towards the camera. And you will see various patchwork quilts. You can even see the cross from the Altar Guild. There is passes there from Christian formation and whatever. But this is another way of reminding us that we are all knit together with all our gifts. And if all our gifts are pulled together, and we do it with the love of God, again, Michael Curry's foundation, and we find the right ways to do it against a world that's not willing to listen to us, which is basically what Bishop Sean Rowe is trying to remind us, building on all of those foundations, it is absolutely amazing what will happen. And that fits into the theme that I have said all along, that the best is yet to come. Now, I'm leaving here with a homework project. It turns out every time I wind up in a congregation for a long-term period, such as I've been with you, I get to learn a new prayer. One of them you heard me say an awful lot, which was the prayer of self-dedication. My latest new prayer that I'm going to have to memorize, and maybe the next time I get invited back to cover a weekend when Matt's on vacation, will be that I'll be able to say to you without reading it how I'm going to close this time with you in my preaching. Because I do believe that this benediction is both a commencement, which means an ending, and also a beginning when you think about what a graduation can be. From the depth of my heart. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and to be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.